Are you wanting your bass playing to be more melodic? If you're trying to make music from just scales and it's not working, then keep watching. I've got something I think you'll really like. I'm Luke McIntosh, and in this lesson you'll learn a blisteringly fast way to bake some serious melodicism right into your bass playing. Whether that's your bass lines or you're improvising, I've got you covered. I was playing a gig a few weeks ago in this really crusty bar. It was mostly improvised music. I was making bass lines up on the spot, as well as the occasional solo, and afterwards this young guy comes up to me and we start talking. Turns out he's a friend of one of the horn players and he plays bass. In fact, he's studying music at university. So we get to talking, and after a while he asks me, I feel like everything I'm playing just sounds like a scale. How can I learn to play more melodically? I thought it was a great question, and I told him a bunch of things that I did when I was trying to make my own playing more melodic and less kind of scaly. Today though, I want to focus on just one of those things, because you can start doing it today and it'll have a huge impact on your playing. So what is it? It's super simple. Simply start using bigger leaps, wider intervals in your playing. This goes for your bass lines and your solos. Pretty much everything can be improved by adding some wider intervals. And the specific interval that will give you a really melodic sound is the sixth. Both the major sixth and the minor sixth get used, but we'll be focusing more on the major sixth today because it gets used in a ton of incredibly melodic songs, and even some songs that you wouldn't think of as being melodic. Now, just in case you don't know, the interval of a major sixth sounds like this. Yeah? There are a few ways to play it. First of all, you can play it on adjacent strings that are right next to each other. So if I play this C here on the D string, 10th fret, and then the major sixth above that will be up here on the G string, 4 frets above where our C was. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's this A. That's the sound. You can also play it crossing strings as well. If you did that, you'd play the first note here on the A string right there. You'd skip over one string, skip over the D string, go 1 fret down from where you started, and that's your major sixth. So in this case, on the C, skip the string over to this string, and then down 1 fret. Yeah? That's your major sixth. Same result no matter which method you use. Now though, let's look at a few examples of real songs that use the major sixth. I'm not just kind of pulling this idea out of thin air. Real world songs use this idea all the time. First of all, there's Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Now, we're talking about using wider intervals. It starts with a full octave leap, and it's an incredible melody. It sounds like this. And then in the very next phrase, we get our major sixth. Yeah, major sixth right there. Da, da, major sixth. This song has so many big leaps, but it's still an incredible melody featuring that major sixth. For another example, you could check out Elvis Presley's Hound Dog. There's a major sixth built into the melody. So you've got a... Yeah, you ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Yeah, did you hear the major sixth in there? It was on the word crying. Crying, crying all the time. Right there, built into the song. Next, let's check out Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. Now, Nirvana aren't known for being incredibly melodic, but have a listen to the melody in the verses. It goes like this. Yeah, that very first phrase has a major sixth in there. Major sixth, da, da, major sixth. Even though it's a total grunge song, it's still incredibly melodic. What about something even more modern? Listen to the unbearably earwormy Call Me Maybe from Carly Rae Jepsen. The melody in the chorus is full of these wide intervals, including that major sixth. Check it out. Did you hear it in there? I think the words in this part are this is crazy. This is crazy. So between the word is and the first syllable of crazy, you get that major sixth. This is crazy. Yeah? For some more examples of the major sixth in melodies, check out Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, Aerosmith's Don't Want to Miss a Thing, the jazz standard Days of Wine and Roses. All genres really. There are thousands of the songs that use this interval all in slightly different ways. And if you want to check out these melodies and play them for yourself, I've put them all together for you in a free PDF download that you can get by clicking the link under this video. Inside it, you'll also get a few extra tricks for making your solos and bass lines more melodic, as well as some specific licks that you can use that use that interval that are basically guaranteed to sound good. So click that link and check it out now. Now, all these melodies we've talked about, they're super memorable and obviously very melodic, but what about bass lines? Can you use the same idea of using a sixth there? Absolutely. Check out the bass line to Eddie Floyd's song Knock on Wood. The bass line was played by Duck Dunn, incredible bass player, and this might be one of my favorite bass lines ever. Now, the chord progression in the verses is just A to E, but look what he plays over both chords. He goes like this. Yeah, over the A chord we get the root, and then upper major sixth, then down to the fifth, then 3, and then the 1 of the chord. And we get the same exact idea over the E chord, just the root, then a major sixth above. What an incredible bass line. Super melodic, catchy as hell, but still very functional as well. What about Stevie Wonder's I Wish with the bass line played by Nate Watts? This is another incredible bass line, and the very first interval is a major sixth, this time going down. It looks like this. Where are we at? Yeah, that very first interval, major sixth, and this is another killer bass line. Major sixth. Yeah, now this whole track is pretty unbelievable. All right, let's do one more bass line, this time using a minor sixth. Like I said earlier, the sixth is melodic whether you use the major or minor version, so here's a minor example. It's from the very first bass line I ever learned, The Beatles Come Together, and it looks like this. Yeah, did you catch it? You've got this big leap up from this A right here on the D string up to this F on the G string. That's a minor sixth. The major sixth would be here, but that's not how the song is supposed to sound at all. Definitely the minor sixth. Just like that. Like I said before, if you'd like to check out all these bass lines, you can find the tabs in the free PDF download that you can get by clicking the link in the description. Now, the next question you're probably asking is how can you use this idea in your own playing? Well, if you want to spice up your solos, the first thing I'd recommend is change the way you practice your scales. Don't just play up and down the scale. If you only practice that way, that's what you'll end up playing, just going up and down endlessly, and it'll sound like a scale. But if you want to infuse some melody into every solo you play, then practice your scales using slightly wider intervals and start with the sixth. So what does that look like for you? Well, if you have, for example, a major scale, play it in broken sixths. So in this case, we start on a C, go up to the A, there's a major sixth between those two notes. Then down to the B, down to the D, up to the B, another major sixth, then we'll go from E to C, which is a minor sixth, and you just keep going up that scale, following the pattern. Yeah? Now, if you're new to this, then take it slow. It may take a little while for this to really sink in and start making sense. To make it easy though, I've put the tabs for all the scales and modes played in sixths in the PDF for you underneath this video. If you can get your fingers around them, you'll be well on your way to making those sounds come out automatically in your solos. And in the PDF, I've even put a few super common solo licks that use that sixth interval. That means you can learn them today and use them immediately to upgrade your playing. Now, does this work with bass lines too? Of course. So let's take a boring bass line and add some sixth in there to make it sound much more beautiful, yeah? So imagine you've got a really straight ahead eighth note bass line on C, G, A, F. Nothing really to this. You've probably heard this kind of bass line thousands of times before. But let's add in some melody, yeah? Now, before every change of chord, let's put in two notes, and let's make them all a sixth and a fifth above the note we're aiming for. So if we're on this C, and we're aiming for this G right here, we want to play 6 Cs, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the 7th note of the bar, play a sixth above the G, and then on the last note of the bar, play a fifth above the G. It'll sound like this. Yeah, do you see how that works? We're using the sixth above every chord that we're going to. So on the G, we'll get an F, an E before the A, because that's a sixth and a fifth above that A. Pardon me. Before the F, we'll get D and C above that F, the sixth and fifth above it. And altogether, it sounds like this. How much prettier is this now that we've added in just those two notes every bar? I'm not super sure about the A and G before the C. The jump there is probably a little bit too extreme for me, but overall I think this is a great improvement, and it's all from just using those sixths. Next, let's say you were playing a blues jam and you were getting sick of playing the same old root 3-5 kind of bass lines. What could you do? Let's say we're in the key of E, classic guitarist blues key. So instead of doing the very safe kind of 1-3-5 thing, yeah, you can target the major sixth over all the chords. So over your E major, your sixth is your C sharp, and you can go crazy with it. Yeah, you might do something like this. To the next chord, same thing. Same over the B as well. Pardon me. Yeah? Does that make sense? The bass line is still very functional, but now you're doing something a little bit different, a little bit more interesting, and a hell of a lot more melodic. How cool is that? Adding this idea to your arsenal of using wider intervals, it's one of the quickest ways to sound more melodic no matter what you're doing. So if you want to get on the fast track to more melodic playing, click that link in the description. You'll get the tabs and notation for all the bass lines and melodies that we went through today. You'll get the tabs and notation for playing your scales in sixths, plus some incredibly cool melodic solo licks that use that major sixth. Just plug them into your playing and you'll be turning heads in no time. It's completely free as well, so go ahead and sign up on that page and I'll get it straight to you. To recap really quickly though, you learned that one of the best ways to inject some melodicism into your playing is by using the sixth, either in your bass lines or solos. And you got a ton of examples of melodies and bass lines that use that sixth. You also learned that to infuse this idea into your bass solos, you should start practicing scales in sixths rather than just going up and down. And finally, we talked about how you can make your bass lines more melodic by infusing that sixth in there. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a ton of fun. I'm Luke McIntosh from becomeabassist.com, and hopefully I'll see you in that PDF download. I'll catch you soon.